So good morning friends, welcome to Raj Malhotra IAS. So guys, the PDF for today's session has been uploaded on our Telegram group. You can download the PDF from our Telegram group. The PDF for today's session has been uploaded on our Telegram group. You can download the PDF and here we are about to start the session. Supreet, Ajay, Mohit, Ramola, Kaveri, Muskan, Pallav, Pooja, good morning. So good number of people have already joined us. It means that we can start this session. Chaliye. So let's see what exactly is there, and we have to start with this present quotation that we have. Anu, good morning. So Mahatma Gandhi is saying that happiness is when you think, what you say and what you do are in harmony. Happiness is when what you think, what you say, what you do are in harmony. So you need to understand one thing here, why I have added this particular statement, because UPSC did ask a question in 2014 that what is happiness, and the second, you can say, further extension was that with examples you have to define. Now happiness, it can have different meaning for different individual, okay, different meaning from different individual. But here what Gandhiji is saying, that happiness is when what you think and what you say and what you do are in harmony. What does this show? These are the qualities that are related with the integrity of an individual. That individual has integrity and he is not deviating from what he is preaching. Normally we have seen people, they come out with the suggestion, they will preach a lot, but when it comes to implementing those things in their life, you will not find those particular individuals implementing the same words in their life. अपनी लाइफ में वो कुछ उन्हीं शब्दों को नहीं अप्लाई करते, because it is difficult. It is difficult. So if you are preaching idealism, then definitely you have to practice that as well. You have to practice that as well in your life, because then only people will consider your credibility. Otherwise you will not be considered as a credible person. So people will think that you are saying something else, you are doing something else. You have no clarity of thoughts in your mind. So all these things are to be looked into. And when we start doing the things that we are preaching, implementing them in our life, definitely it will give you a sense of satisfaction that will breed happiness within you. The satisfaction will breed that happiness within you. This is what Gandhiji wanted us to do. Okay, this is the definition that is there as per Mahatma Gandhi. And definitely whenever you will be writing things related to the say happiness and all, you can definitely refer to Mahatma Gandhi there. That's the point. Okay, so here we'll move next. So here we have this news, Gotabaya in Singapore sends in his resignation. Okay, so this is the new development. We have to wait and watch. Already in Sri Lanka, the orders have been given to army and other armed forces to establish peace, okay, and order. So we are hoping that things will improve. Parallel to that, we are continuing our help to the Sri Lankan people. We are continuing our help. Okay, so this is the development. Other than, there is another news, fiscal deficit reined in and current account deficit a concern. So there are few developments that are taking place when you talk about Indian economy. So look at the environment in which we are operating right now. So Ukraine Russia war is going on, okay, which is impacting, you can say, the global trade. So global trade is impacted because of that. As global trade is impacted, you can say that some experts are saying we are heading towards global recession. Okay, global recession. So already we are at in that stage where global slowdown is going on. So there is no doubt about it whether the global slowdown is there or not. Definitely global slowdown is going on. This is the scenario right now. Inflation is increasing in all the countries. It is not just the Indian phenomena. All over the world this is going on. Okay, supply chain network, it is still, you can say, impacted by the COVID, because restrictions are still there in China. So these developments are there. In that scenario, there are few things that are happening. That current account deficit, okay, so current account deficit occurs when total value of goods and services in a country, means the import that we are carrying out, exceeds the total value of goods and services that it exports. So here it is showing that the import that we are doing is way more than the exports. Okay, imports of goods and services that are taking place in India. So this is how, this is the alarming thing, because current account deficit is going to increase. It means that you may over the time may have to use your forex reserve. Okay, uh, but the point is this, like, we are in a reasonable comfortable, you can say, position right now. So comfortable position is there because we have ample amount of forex reserve. Nearly it is something $590 billion, 594 or 595, means it is nearer to the $600 billion forex reserve that we have with us. Okay, so from that end it appears that we are reasonably comfortable, but never know. Anyhow, we have to work upon the current account deficit. Okay, you either have to reduce your imports or you have to promote your exports. That's the point here. So Ministry of Finance is saying that if you look into India's macro risk, it has receded recently, and there are some concerns over the fiscal deficit. Okay, so fiscal deficit looks into the differences that you have between government expenditure. Okay, the government is spending the money, so government expenditure and government, you can say, income, revenue. So that is what we term as fiscal deficit. उसको fiscal deficit बोल देते हैं. So because the economic cycle is not moving at that pace, definitely revenue collection will be less. Okay, means whatever we have anticipated, whatever estimates we had made, it may be less than that, and this is the factor here. However, like, things are under control, but when it comes to current account deficit, it is deteriorating definitely because of the rising trade deficit. Okay, so we are importing more and exporting less. That's the challenge. Parallel to that, inflation is increasing in your country. Okay, and you have to, you can say, deal with the widened trade deficit as well. Both are increasing. Now inflation is increasing. What's the problem? This is the dilemma right now. This is the dilemma right now. So inflation is increasing. This is the reason why Reserve Bank of India, it is tightening. Okay, it is tightening the economy, or you can say it is tightening the money by increasing the interest rate. ठीक है जी. So increasing the interest rate. This is what you can say your RBI is doing right now. Now the point is this: how can we sustain this? That's the question here. Because when you are increasing the interest rate, it means that loans are becoming expensive. Okay, when loans are becoming expensive, it means that corporate houses, there, you can say, the the cost of starting a business. Okay, the cost of starting a business, because they will be taking some loan from some industry, cost of starting a business, it will also increase. Now that's the problematic part here. If you are going to reduce the interest rate, okay, if you are going to reduce the interest rate, definitely the supply of money is going to increase in the market. So if interest rates, they are reduced, now this reduction will be good for the market, okay, people will have more money in their hand and your economy will come into action. But when people are going to have more money in your hand, it will further increase the inflation. This is what we have to decide. Do we want growth or do we want to control inflation? Other point is this, inflation, who is the most, you can say, who will pay the maximum price? It is the poor and the vulnerable sections of the society. They have to take up this burden. They have to bear this burden. That is what is problematic. That is what is problematic. So we cannot move away from our responsibility to handle inflation. So this challenge is increasing right now. And majorly we have been able to sustain the onslaught of Russia-Ukraine crisis, but these are the developments taking place. So globally we are expecting that early resolution will come to this Ukraine-Russia crisis, but it is not appearing like that. That's a bit problematic. Okay, so we'll move to the next news item regarding the Supreme Court absolves forces of Dantewada killings. Okay, so here things are related to the Naxalism. Now, like there was a major incident in 2009, okay, where nearly more than 70 soldiers of CRPF, they were killed by Naxalites. And in those years as well, there were incidents where tribals were targeted, okay, tribals were targeted, their houses were burnt. Now, some of the reports are saying that that activity was also carried out by the Naxals. So Naxalism, no doubt, things are under control right now. Okay, we are able to control the problem to some extent. The number is decreasing. The areas infected by the Naxalism, they are decreasing. It's a good development. Okay, but let's look into the reason for the Naxalism. What's the reason why it spread earlier? So first, you can say a reason that you will come to your mind is the tribal discontent. Now we know that in the name of you know like development, okay, so we may be needing that land for mineral extraction. That's the point. So you will be needing that land for mineral extraction. Now the point is this, in return tribals are not getting anything, okay. So these areas, they don't have schools, they don't have electricity, they don't have medical facility, etc, etc, etc. Means all the civil amenities are not present in those areas. There it is bit problematic, okay. You are displacing someone and in return you are not even providing the basic facilities that should be given to the citizen of this country. Parallel to that, you can say the presence of government is minimal. Presence of government is minimal. Because Naxalites, they are controlling that area. They are running the show. They are having their own, you can say, court of justice. This is the arrangement they are facilitating. Okay. So that's a bit problematic. The symbols of state, symbols of government, they are not active in those areas. Then gaps in socio-economic development. So these gaps are also, you can say, existing. So the minerals that are to be extracted, primarily those minerals will be used for the construction activity or any other big activity. Major users are the urban living area people, not the tribals. But in return, they are not getting anything. Okay, administration is quite weak. We have seen multiple times, even the state governments, they are not taking the Naxal issue seriously. Okay, it's a challenge. Then multi agencies are there. They create lot of confusion. So you have your intelligence bureau active there, state police, central forces might be there. So in this way multiple agencies might be active and then they will create a confusion. That's why operations are difficult. So these are the things that are going on. Now in this arrangement, we need to cover what steps your government is taking. We need to know what steps our government is taking here. Okay. So we will be mentioning them. So here we have to mention about the operation Green Hunt. Now it was started earlier. Basically the idea was to use your armed forces. Okay. Central forces were used to flush out the Naxalites in those areas. That was done. Then relief and rehabilitation policy is there. Okay, so the Naxalites they are persuaded to give up their weapons. In return, they will get some money which will help them in rehabilitation. They will be trained, they will be skilled so that they can gel up with the existing, you can say, society. That's the point. Okay, that's the point. Now, aspirational district program. Aspirational district program is, this is what government has started. That is the developmental activity we will be covering. Okay, it will be decentralized. Decentralized in the sense that right from the district they will be focusing upon. Okay, not on the state, but the unit which is to be focused is the district. So this is a good strategy. At the district level you will be carrying out the development. It's a good strategy. Okay, so decentralization, that's the point here. Now components of these strategies are as follows. So government also started with something called Samadhan Strategy. This Samadhan Strategy government has started. And before that, let me tell you one thing. The aspirational district program, it primarily looks into the requirements of the most, you can say, vulnerable district. Those districts which are not economically well off. So those districts are covered. Their problems are addressed here. That's the point. Now, component of the strategy, Samadhan strategy that the government is running is as for smart leadership. Okay, so this leadership is there for the state agencies, police, as well as the central forces that are active there. Then aggressive strategy means we will not have a passive time कि भी आपकी एक्टिविटी में कमी आ गई, because Naxalites they will use that time to regrow themselves. So we can't have this arrangement. You will continuously be working on motivation and training of the officials. Actionable intelligence means you need to strengthen your intelligence network so that you will get the actionable intelligence information and you can act upon that. This is what we are putting emphasis on. Then D for dashboard based, you can say, report. It means that there should be proper documentation. Okay, facts are produced, and based on those facts the decisions are taken. This is what is the requirement here. This is what Samadhan strategy is. Then you have to use technology. There have to be an action plan for each theater in different areas. So you can say Bihar, it will have its own terrain. The problems might be different. Jharkhand, the type of Naxalites are different. Chhattisgarh, Odisha. So in different areas, they will have different requirements and accordingly you will act. So that's the point. And N is no access to the finances. See, till the time you are not putting a hold on the tap of finances, these problems are going to exist as it is. जब तक पैसा आता रहेगा तब तक कोई प्रॉब्लम आप सोल्व नहीं कर पाओगे. That's the point here. Okay, so it is really very important that we deal with this. Now we'll move to the next part. So here let's move to the editorial section. Let's see what today's editorial is suggesting us. Okay, so one of the editorials are about the politics. So we will not look into the Tamilian politics here. We will move to the next editorial, which is regarding the great omission in the draft disability policy. See, you need to understand we are living in a democratic setup. Okay, so we are a democracy right now. So it means that in democracy, welfare approach, or you can say welfare state, we are a welfare state. It means that your government have the responsibility to provide inclusivity in development. Inclusivity in development. Okay, so this is how the whole scenario is right now. Now this editorial is saying that the policies that we are going to come out with, they should be inclusive, because if things are not inclusive, then definitely you cannot carry out the development activity. So the Department of Empowerment of Person with Disability, recently they released a draft of new national policy for person with disability, and it is going to replace the old policy which was there in 2006. Okay, see, this is one of the problem with India's policies, that updation are quite late. Okay, updation are quite late, so at least after 10 years the updation should be done, but here it is being done after, you can say, 16 years. So this is not the right way of doing things, and primarily they are saying that this might be done due to the pressure that we have from external factors, as we are a signatory of Convention of Rights of Person with Disability. We proposed in the past Right of Person with Disability Act 2016. So maybe under those particular, maybe because of pressure from those things, we might be going ahead with this particular policy. Then we also did support the Indian strategy. Okay, so Indian strategy is related to the dealing with person with disability. Okay, so this is what you need to remember for your prelims exam. You have to remember this for your prelims exam. That's the important point here. Now it is saying that, like, we have made the commitment that okay, we have to deal with the disabilities, you have to make things, you can say, facilitative of person with disability, and you have to come out with a model which is primarily guided by the human rights. Okay, this is what we have, and this policy documents highlights few things. It says that, like, we have to look after the education, health, skill development, employment, sports, culture, social security, accessibility, and other institutional mechanisms. So you cannot have a piecemeal approach that you are dealing with things separately कि भी हर चीज को आप अलग अलग करके देख रहे हो. No, that approach is not going to work. You need to have a comprehensive outlook. Okay, so this is what we are working with. We have a comprehensive outlook and we are trying to implement that. Now, Article 29 of Convention of Rights of Person with Disability mandates that state parties should ensure that person with disability can effectively and fully participate in political and public life on an equal basis. Now, this is the biggest problem here. This is the biggest problem. Why I am saying this is the biggest problem? Because their political activity is minimal. Their political activity is minimal. Okay, then their representation is not there. So their representation is not there. Further, right, they are not treated as a significant voter bloc by the politicians. They are not treated as a significant voter bloc by the politicians. This is what is problematic. Okay, if they are considered as a significant voter bloc, it means that definitely the politicians will work, politicians will look after them. But since they are not considered as a voter bloc, major voter bloc, politicians don't take up their cause seriously, and the discrimination that should be stopped it still continues. Okay, the discrimination that should have been stopped, it still continues. So in this way it is bit problematic. थोड़ी बहुत समस्या यहाँ से हो रही है, ठीक है ना. सो ये चीज़ समझनी ज़रूरी है यहाँ पे. ओके, सो दिस इज व्हाट यू हैव टू अंडरस्टैंड. Now, political empowerment and the inclusion of the disabled are an issue that has not found traction in India's democratic discussion. Okay, people don't take them seriously. They are not, you can say, considered as important for the electoral victory. So, they are not part of the discussions related to the electoral system either. So, it's a problematic thing. Okay. India does not have any policy commitment that is aimed at enhancing the political participation of disabled people. So you need to come out with the policy commitment. Have a particular document. You can have reservation for them. Some seats can be reserved for person with disability. Okay, it can be done. It can be done. We can have some arrangement in the constitution. So all these things are doable. All these things are doable. Now, other thing is this: barriers are still existing, which are stopping them to participate in the party politics. Okay, so we need to do away with those barriers. Then only we will be able to ensure that we have inclusive development, because representation is really very important. Their representation as a policy maker is really important here, and this is what we have to focus upon. So section 11 of Right of Person with Disability Act prescribes that the Election Commission of India and State Election Commission shall ensure that all polling stations are accessible to person with disability. So these provisions are existing, but implementation is poor. Implementation is quite poor. That's the problem. प्रोविजन आपके सामने है, लेकिन इम्प्लीमेंटेशन यहाँ पे होता नहीं है. ओके, दैट्स अ प्रॉब्लम हियर. Then, although this mandate has been in existence for a few years, the disabled people still report accessibility issue before and on election day. Problems are still existing. So, braille electronic voting machines, they are not available. Wheelchairs are not available. These problems are still existing. When it comes to representation, hardly you will find a name. So as Constitution has a provision for SC/ST, we can have this provision for person with disability as well. It could be done. It could be done. So these are the things. So we need to update the policy. The policy should address these particular problems that are existing. You have to make sure that your staff that are handling the electoral system, they are trained, they are sensitized. They are trained, they are sensitized about these particular issues that are there. The requirements of person with disability, the concerns that they feel, the issues that they face. So these things are important. Okay, these things are important. That's the point here. So we are moving to next news item. So here the next editorial is related to a debate. Is protectionism compatible with liberalism? Okay. So liberalism will talk about openness, that we need to have open economy. We have to encourage, you can say, investment from abroad. Okay, investment from abroad. You have to be part of global trade or global supply chain network plus trade. This is one thing. These are the things that are to be addressed and covered under, you can say, global, or you can say this, liberalization. Now parallel to that, protectionism is also increasing. So government announced something called Atmanirbhar Bharat. Okay, and in that the emphasis is on domestic production. So this means that instead of focusing upon, you can say, issues related to integrating Indian economy with the global economy, we are not putting pressure on that, we are not even considering that, and we are working only on the domestic production. Okay, that's the point. So here in this debate, some critical things are discussed, whether it is good or bad. Now we need to have this serious participation. We need to make sure that market economy, they play important role. Okay, and we have to promote the market economy. But contrary to that, market economy is about less restriction. Okay, but contrary to that, we have seen the protectionism is increasing, and it is quite visible in India's policy as well. We want to protect the domestic economy from foreign competition. It is happening here. Okay, it is happening here. That's why this debate is emerging. At one point you are saying that we will be producing things for the whole world, and parallel to that you are somehow, you can say, just focusing on the domestic things. This is bit problematic. Now you see, whenever you are protecting your domestic producer, two things can happen. One is that they have no incentive to grow, to update, technologically I am talking about, to become more competitive. Because market forces, they are critical. Okay, market forces, they facilitates competition. Those particular entities which are strong enough, which have resilience, they will be able to survive. Not all, but those which have the ability, they will be able to survive. But is it happening? Is it happening? That's the problematic part. Okay. Now, you are somehow trying to move out from the global competition, and your domestic producer will have no incentive. He says that, what's the point of updating? Why should I invest in updation? Why should I invest in bringing new technology when the government is going to provide me, you can say, protection? We are also working on import substitution. That's the point. And in this whole debate, the major problem is that we are not talking about the efficiency. We are not focusing on improving the efficiency of the production centers that are there in India, improving the manufacturing sector here in India. We are not working on efficiency at all. And there it's a bit problematic thing. Because these things are to be addressed. If you are making your production efficient, definitely you will have some competitive edge. And when you have the efficiency, it means that not only your domestic market will have benefit out of it, even the globally you will emerge as a player. This is what we want, but things are not happening. Okay, this is the point. So we are working on growing our export by making raw materials cheaper. Now this is not the right strategy. You have to make sure that your systems are smart. This is the time of smart manufacturing, and it is doable. So we should remove all the barriers that are there in globalize, means which are impacting the globalization, which are impacting India's trade with other countries, and that should be your priority, not the twisting and turning the taxation systems in your country. भाई custom duty कहीं पे बढ़ा दी, कहीं पे कुछ कर दिया, कहीं पे कुछ कर दिया. That's not a right strategy. This is the point we are making here. Okay, that's the point. So problems that are existing, you should deal with them, identify the problems in your electorals, in your, say, ease of doing business, facilitate that. Issues are still prevailing, we have to work upon them. That's the point. So we'll move to the next part. So here we have another news that is related to your Forest Rights Act. Okay, so debate is around the forest conservation rules. So forest conservation rules, they prescribe the procedure to be followed for forest land to be diverted from non-forestry use such as road construction, highway development, etc. This particular rules, okay, uh, these are the latest one, and state bodies earlier they used to come out with the document, but right now here this document is out. Forest conservation rule. See, whenever we talk about forest conservation, one thing is for sure, that it is not possible without the community participation. Okay, so local community participation, that's the most crucial thing here. Now parallel to that we have something called Forest Rights Act, that is also existing. That's also existing. So we need to work upon that as well. Forest Conservation Act is there. Forest Right Act is there. It talks about right of the tribals, okay, on that land. I am saying that along with the Forest Conservation Act, we need to focus upon Forest Rights Act as well. We have to make sure that the land that is handed over to the tribals, they should use it, and the implementation should be done in letter and spirit. Implementation should be done in letter and spirit. That's the point. That's the point. This is what we have to do. You have to role, you should have a role for local community. Without that we will not be able to implement these provisions. That's the point. So other news is the road to rolling out labor codes. Okay, so here we need to understand this thing. Labor codes were out, but the implementation is delayed. This is the problem with this country. The major problem is in implementation. So here we did came out with the labor code. We were so, you can say, encouraged about the labor code. We were so means ready to implement it, but still not being done. This delay is there, and primarily delay is at the level by the states. So they are publishing the draft rules, inviting the comments. Okay, so center also did publish the draft and then came out with the, you can say, rules and all. These problems are existing, and parallel to that, whether these rules will be implemented or not, still the question mark is there. Why question mark is existing? Because some of the trade unions, they are not happy with this particular labor code. They are criticizing. So you should know this. Four codes were introduced: code on wages, industrial relation code, code on social security, code on occupational safety, working condition, etc. Now the point is this: these codes, they are a welcome step, okay, because somehow they will reduce the complexity. Otherwise in India it is very complex. There are multiple, you can say, rules, laws that are in place, and they are in large number. So instead of following all of them, making a separate arrangement for all of them, here this provision is available where you implement this code. That's the point. So center claims that the four codes are a major step in process of labor reforms, and these codes are there. Okay, farmers organization, they also supported the trade unions in their protest. So they have this concerns at central trade unions, they have some concerns. See, whenever we are coming out with something without consultation, हम कुछ भी करते हैं और इसमें consultation नहीं करते हैं, तो उसमें problem आती ही आती है. Okay, so here also these codes were brought without consultation. That's why the problem is still existing. This is the point. Other than that, how to grease the wheels of justice. Okay, so here it is talking about the judicial system that is there. Now when you talk about judicial system, why it is slow? There are multiple reasons. So first thing is that shortage of judges. Okay, vacancies are still not filled. Vacancies are not filled because of the delay of appointment. At the level of government, सरकार टाइम पे अपॉइंट नहीं करती, ठीक है ना, दैट्स अ प्रॉब्लमेटिक थिंग. ओके, देन problem with the laws as well. Now your laws that you are operating with, they are archaic, पुराने कानून हैं, they are complex, समझ में ही नहीं आते. So because of the complexity and the archaic laws that are existing, litigation increases. So as litigation increases, subsequently the pendency of the case. This is one of the reasons. Okay. Other could be, you can say, investigation can be weak. So if the investigation is weak, again your judgment will be impacted by that. Then we do have a provision for use of technology. But the point is this, the implementation is not uniform. In some of the high courts, in some of the states, implementation maybe, you can say, at a right pace, but not in every state. That's the problematic part. हर जगह ऐसा नहीं हो रहा, ये भी समस्या है. So these problems are existing and you have to reform these problems at all. सारी समस्याओं का आपको निवारण करना है. That's the point. So other than that, ensure testing for monkeypox, health ministry says the states. Okay, so this virus is spreading right now. See, the fatality rate is 1 out of 10. Okay, that's the fatality rate. And other thing is this, the smallpox virus, smallpox vaccine, that vaccine is 85%, you can say, successful against monkeypox. So it's a good thing, it's a good thing. Government have already given instruction to the states to manage this, to keep an eye, progress and all. You have to keep ready yourself with the availability of manpower, etc., etc., etc. That's the point. India to give land for I2U2 backed food parks. So here the idea is about Israel, India, US, UAE. So collectively they want to emerge as a, you can say, block with areas like energy, transportation, health, space, food security. Okay, so in those areas they will be working together and India can come out with a, you can say, food parks, etc., and they together will form a, you can say, it will provide an opportunity of investment to India. In India के अंदर अच्छा खासा investment आएगा. That's the point here. Okay, production of vegetables to go up. This is what center is saying. So here are some things. Here are some things. Here also US vows to use all means to stop Iran. So already the talks are on. Okay. So the point is this, Israel is not happy with them, because according to Israel, like, talks should not be carried out. There is no point of continuing these talks with Iranians. They are not interested at all. But US is still trying to maintain the peace and saying that, okay, they have to maintain the peace, talks should be established. So we have to wait and watch. In coming days, things will be out in public domain. So trade deficit widens to record 26 billion. We already covered it in detail. Okay. So wholesale price is to 3 months low. It's a good development because it will put less pressure on RBI to increase the rates. It will ease out the pressure on RBI, and we may not be required to raise the policy rates, which will be good for Indian economy. So these are the overall things that are associated with this. That's it for the day then. Thank you very much.